Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining. It's a great pleasure having you here. My name is Malene, working at also in Denmark on Lenovo PC. Today's topic will be conducted by a range of fantastic speakers from Lenovo. Malene, if you just go on ahead, you can here see the agenda, and I will do a short presentation. Elena Lupi, Director, International Distribution, talks Lenovo Net Zero emissions. Henrik Clausen, SSG Service Sales Manager, will talk service offerings. Berg Stephenson, ThinkShield Security Business Manager, introduce Lenovo ThinkShields. Happily, Tim Frith just become a father. Instead, Christian Polora will do the presentation on Lenovo TrueScales. Joanne Thomas will talk about the Renew track. And finally, Mads Hansen, he will go through a simple walk with Lenovo Partner Hub. And Elena, the scene is yours. I just can say if you have any question, just use the chat. And Elena, please take it from here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Malin. I still see the first slide, so I don't know if someone is moving it.
Oh, is it still the first slide? I'm so sorry. Is it better now?
Yeah, now I see the second one. Okay, so if you can just stay here. So thank you and welcome. Good morning, everyone. Today we have an exciting journey ahead as we delve into Lenovo services strategy, and also we explore the groundbreaking Net Zero project. So before we start, I want to extend my gratitude to each one of you for taking time to join us today. Your presence here reflects a shared commitment to innovation and sustainability, so thanks a lot. And of course, thanks also for this opportunity and for organizing this webinar with Lenovo. So if we move to the next slide. So sustainability is not an option anymore. We are in a decade of action. The world is under high-speed transformation journey. Food, health, transport systems will change during the coming decade. So the corporation needs to transform now to drive the needed technological and business model innovations. So this means that we are going to adapt and to be part of this transformation to reach the Paris Agreement and the 2030 UN agenda. So focused on its bold vision to deliver smarter technology for all, Lenovo has built on its success as the world's largest PC company by further expanding into key growth areas, including service, storage, mobile solution, and of course, services that we are going to touch in a while. And for more than 3 decades, Lenovo is helping organizations from healthcare, education, retail, manufacturing, professional services, and more rethink the way they use technology to revitalize their business through smarter solutions that can leverage hardware, software, and services around the world. So I can say that for Lenovo, sustainability is a key driver for innovation and also to answer emerging industry trends, customer needs, due to this fast-changing environment. Developing capabilities to support the transition to computing everywhere and ultimately facilitate the access and the usage of data to take smarter decisions. So key investments are also made on intelligent transformation to support the transition from a product-centric to service-led approach. So Lenovo's commitment to net zero by 2050 is a core pillar to integrate inclusive and responsible innovation into our value chain. This transformation, together with Lenovo's world, is building a more inclusive, trustworthy, and sustainable digital society for everyone and everywhere. So if we move to the next slide, One of the quick question could be, okay, but where is Lenovo, no, in the sustainability journey? So sustainability is, as I said, is part of our DNA, and ESG is part of fabric of our business. So the Lenovo's unique setup has facilitated the implementation of a strong ESG framework, as well as some crucial sustainability programs over the past decades. So our journey has been quite intense, I could say, over the past years. For example, in 2006, Lenovo released its first ESG, so ESG is Environment, Social and Governance report. In 2009, Lenovo became United Nations Global Company signatory. And also, Lenovo set its first climate targets in 2010 and started to work with the Science-Based Target Initiatives in 2015. Our first greenhouse gases emission targets have been approved by them, so the SBTi, in 2021. When we look at the social aspect, Lenovo Foundation has been launched in 2015 and our first diversity and inclusion report in 2016. So during the past decades, Lenovo has focused on building this strong ESG operating structure, supported by critical sustainability programs and initiatives. And this structure is basically composed of three parts. The first one is the environment affairs section, where basically cover topics such as climate change, energy management, product materials, including like chemical restrictions and recycled content. Product end of life management, which is super important, the product energy efficiency, and the water resource management. Then we have the second one, the social impact and employee engagement section that covers the subjects of human rights, labor standard, occupational health and safety, or even more HR policies and practices. And then last but not least, the corporate governance sections that covers the issues of reporting, communication, ethics and compliance, but also privacy and data security, for example. So I could say that our efforts today are focused on building resilience and addressing the challenges of humanity that we all face. It was important for Lenovo to integrate the values related to sustainable development in all its business units, as well as its support function. And today, I could say that is basically present in all levels of our organization. So if we move to the next one, as you can see in this chart, so there are some examples of key achievements in 2022-2023, so our fiscal year. So I can say that Lenovo is proud of the progresses we have made and the knowledge we have gained on our sustainability journey. So just to go through some of them, one of that I already mentioned in my previous chart is the validation by SBTi of our net zero emission reduction by 2050. That's one I think is certainly the most impressive one, because by working with SBTi, the companies can create accountability for emission reduction while contributing to a wider body of data to understand the limit of the climate change. So today, having your net zero target validated by SBTi associated to an A grade from CDP, as you can see here in the chart, is basically giving the highest level of credibility in regards of net zero target. So at Lenovo, I can say, as I said at the beginning, we are really proud of this achievement that is still unique in the PC industry. Then if we see another achievement here, I want to highlight our MSCI rating. Lenovo ESG rating score was basically recently upgraded to the AAA by MSCI. This upgrade represents the highest possible rating for corporation leading in ESG program. And then recently, Lenovo has once again been named in the Gartner Supply Chain Top 25 for 2023. And the ranking 8 in this list of global companies with supply chain has been recognized also by EcoVadis. So, as I said, I mean, a lot of things have been achieved. And then, of course, we have something that we are building now for a better future together with you. So if we move to the next slide and last one for me, today, thanks to its expertise and knowledge related to business transformation, Lenovo is aiming to implement and drive actions and impactful global sustainable initiatives as part of the Lenovo 360 Partner Program. So we launched with Lenovo 360 Circular Community, and the aim is to support and empower Lenovo partners and customers. For example, setting a comprehensive plan to achieve our respective KPI while setting and aligning sustainability objectives with market expectations. Something else could be transforming ESG needs into new business opportunities. And finally, by building a global ESG channel community of experts to support small and medium-sized local partners. As you can see in this chart, a big subject on which we are working, I can say really hard, is naturally linked to the adoption of the circular economy principles. As we all know, sustainability should be addressed at all stages of the product life cycle. That's the reason why over the past few years, we have heavily invested in innovation into our supply chain, product design, and services delivery. So I can say that our strategy is based on 3 axes of development. The first one is the smarter circular design, the lining without waste or pollution. The second one is the smarter circular use, like optimizing the use of the product and the resources. And the last axis is the smarter circular return for the control of resources when we reach the end of the life of the products. So historically, Lenovo has focused a lot on its upstream ecosystem, and we are now making sure to include our downstream ecosystem. That does naturally include our channel partners, as well as our customers and services providers. We are really convinced that to address properly sustainability, we need to make sure that all the parties are involved in the life cycle assessment of our product, from the extraction to the disposal. Through the implementation of this Lenovo 360 Circular initiative, we are planning to develop a circular ecosystem partnership community to influence and to support new market needs by 2025, while accelerating decarbonization. So our key focus will be on the product life extension, so all the activities that aim to maintain the value and the scope purpose of our products and their components as the highest level through reuse, repair, and remanufacturing, as well as on the product transformation, as you can see here. All the technologies and the actions aim at recovering natural resources and ecosystem at the highest level of quality, purity, and value. So, in closing, I want to thank you once again for being part of this journey. The future is bright, and of course, together we can transform tomorrow. As we move forward, let's remember that innovation and sustainability are not just goals. They are the foundation upon which we build a better world. So I close my speech, say that if you're not still part of our Lenovo Circular community, you can reach out us and we will be happy to give you even more information. And thanks again for the attention and for being here today. I move the word to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Elenia. I will just see if there is any questions. No, not for now. Henrik, you're on. Please.
And it's my turn. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's your turn.
Good. I will move on now. I will also start to thank you all for taking your time to come and join us for this fantastic setup that also made for Lenovo. And I want to thank especially Elenia for taking her time to come here and present. It's not every day we get a director in this, so thank you, Elenia. And as you see, my name is Henrik Skjern Clausen. I'm based in Denmark, and I do have the honor of being responsible for services within also in EMEA. And move on to the next one. I will start with telling you that we did half a year ago, we did a service guide with Lenovo and also combined. And in this, you can find it on the web shop afterwards, and you will actually find it whenever you see this recording. In this, we actually did most of the services for the IGG part, which is our PC business. And in here, you will actually see in English what kind of service we offer and some explanations. And we do also have questions in here that you can ask your customers, because service is, for the moment, getting a hot topic. And as you saw in the invitation, service is growing and growing and growing, and customers are buying more and more services. And I will try to show you in a few minutes why we are going that way. And it fits in with Elenia's presentation of sustainability, because we need to reuse what we produce. We need to fix what we produce if we want to keep this climate change a little farther away than it is at the moment. So we need to do things smarter and more efficient. You can move to the next slide. There you go. I will start with presenting. I will not go through all of this in details, but this gives you a good overview of our service offerings for the part called IGG, which is our PC business. You all know us a lot for ThinkPads and for Think. And actually in our services, I will present our standard services. I will go a little more into details on that one. And I will talk a little about our advanced service and why you have to choose, or what you should tell your customer, why you have to choose one for the other. We do have, we launched Premier Support 3 years ago, and you have actually taken that into your heart, and you actually sell a lot of that now. And then 6 months ago, we introduced Premier Support Plus. And in the Premier Support, for your customers, we actually have dedicated spare parts, which means when we say next business day, we actually means next business day. And we need to get a story clear for the customers, why they have to go this way, why this service is so important, why they don't need to now have computers in their basement to pick out if something breaks down, because now we can actually service it. And the standard services, as you see in the top, have 4 attachments, which is accidental damage protection. I will talk a little about that afterwards. We have seal battery, which means you can now go from 1-year warranty to 3-year warranties on your battery. And we have keep your own drive as an attachment, which actually means that if your hard drive breaks down, the service provider will not take it away from you when they come to fix it. You will actually get to keep the hard drive you have with the data that you have on it. The accidental damage protection, or the ADP, is a little different from what we know in the Nordics as an all risk. The difference is actually that on an all risk, if you drop your computer from a high tower, it will actually cover. We don't. We only cover if you use your computer doing work. So if you drop it from your desktop, or if you put Coca-Cola in it or coffee, then we will still fix it. And if you have the international upgrade on it, we will also fix it in France or in Germany or in Sweden. Then it doesn't matter which country you're in anymore. if we go to the advanced services and all of this that we talk about now, if you have any questions for this afterwards, because it is a lot of information in a very short time, then please reach out for your local also representative, or reach out for someone at Lenovo and we can go more into details on this. On the advanced services, we do now offer a lot of managed services like configuration, and asset management. And we also offer a lot of software now. We have more than 140 software vendors now that you can buy as a Lenovo product through their webpage if you're interested in that. And also we have the S.R.O, which is asset recovery, where we actually help you to get rid of your old computers before you put in some new computers, and the CO2 offset, of course. Next slide, Marlene. I know this is a little fast and it is a lot of information, but I want you to see the overview of the service offering in a different way than you normally see on a price list. This is for the IST part, for servers and data centers. And here we have the same setup. Here it's called Tower 1 and Tower 2, but it's still standard services and advanced services. Here I will keep mostly on the standard services on our servers, because you are actually able, when you buy a server from also a Lenovo server, to do something. We have the same here with the premium support. It is a little different than the premium support from the IDG board, but it's basically run by the same way. On the IDG part, it's done locally when you call premium support, so it's done in your local language. When you call the IST, it is done in English. That is the big difference. And they have different SLAs. Go to the next slide. I will not go more into this here. This one is actually the most important one, and the one I can talk a lot about, but I see on my clock I don't have that much time. This is the same two slides that I just showed you, and this is one of the topics that I really love. This is the change of mindset. We need to change our minds, we need to change your minds as a reseller, and we need to change our customers' mind how to go into a service setup. That service can actually help you drive your hardware sale. Service is becoming more and more important, especially if you sell hardware as a service, like computer as a service, device as a service, infrastructure as a service, as you will hear more about later on in this call. Because service is the driving point now. People are not able to, if your telephone breaks down, you don't want a new one. You want the same one and you want it fixed. It's the same with your computer. If you break down, it's too expensive for you not to be productive. So we need to find a way to also make everything reusable. And you can do that in a device as a service. You can actually reuse the computer who breaks down. They will be fixed as a new one. So this is how to create a story in how services can make this a better world, and also fits into the sustainability message that we have to be more efficient on the things we do and not produce as much as we usually did before. Next slide. I did put together some links, and I will go through a few of them. On the IDG part, we have the Partner Hub, and hopefully you all know the Partner Hub and have access for it here. And Mads will show you the Partner Hub in the end of the show. Here you can find all the information you need. You can find all the flyers. This is where you do prices and stuff. It is something you should access every single day. This will help you do your job. And then we have the one called Lenovo Smart Find. In here, if you click on services, you are able to see what service your computer have, what service you can upgrade. We have something called good, better, best. So you can upgrade from the lowest service to the highest service, or to the best service. And in here you see list prices, you see part numbers, SKU numbers, anything that is hard to find in the day-to-day work, you will find in here. And this will actually make your pricing issues a lot easier. It will make it easier to help your customer in the support function. Also, I forgot to say, on the premium support, we actually do also have 24/7 telephone support. On the ISG part, I have 5 links in there. They do have a little more you have to be careful about when you sell premium support. And they also use the partner hub. So go in here, use these links, check them out, go in the partner hub, take your certification, take all the tests to become a Lenovo certified salesperson. And this will help you in your day-to-day work and help you understand why services is becoming such a hot topic. I hope this makes some sense in a very fast way. And afterwards, I do hope you reach out for also, no matter which country you're in, or you can reach out for us at Lenovo. And as I told you, I am based in Denmark, so you are more than welcome to reach out for me at the local office in Copenhagen. That's my final slide, and that's it from me. Thank you so much for listening in.
Thank you, Henrik. Great. Then it's Berg. The scene is yours.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. So quick introduction, and thanks for that. So my name is Burke Stevenson. I manage the ThinkShield security portfolio for EMEA. And the question that we get a lot is, we didn't know Lenovo does security. And then the second statement we always get is everybody's amazed at the level and good solutions that we actually have to offer. So next slide, please. Get into this real quick. So what are the biggest security threats? Can you click through this? 2 more, 1 more. All right. So the biggest security threats to cybersecurity, if we look at what we're watching this webinar on right now and what Lenovo is known for, we are known for endpoints. We are known for the ThinkPad. And in the post-pandemic work from anywhere, bring your own device, the biggest security threat to any organization is the endpoint, because how do you detect, monitor, respond, protect these devices? A classic question, an example. Customers have endpoint management solutions. They have like Intune, SCCM, Avanti, whatever it may be. But what happens if that solution stops working correctly on the device? It's an application, right? These things degrade. Or what about patch management? I always ask a customer, last time you did a patch management update across your enterprise, how many of your devices were not patched because the patch management solution was not working, turned off, whatever it may be? Third scenario is a cyber attack. If I'm a bad actor, the first thing I'm going to do when I get in is I'm going to turn off your cybersecurity tools. So now the question, back to the original question, how do you know if that endpoint management application is turned off or degrades or is deleted? And the problem is you don't. You're not actively notified. You have to discover this. Then the next problem is, what does it take to re-implement that solution? And that's a manual process from IT. So as we can see now, the weakest link is endpoints. How do we maintain security, continual protection on endpoints? The other problem is users. How do we enable users to work? Users are curious. We've got to be able to do what we need to do. We need to open files and emails and go to websites. But in today's world, we are warned with phishing and malware and ransomware. So how do I know what I can click on? And while I'm not going to cover users today, what I will focus on endpoints, but this is something that we can move forward on once we start setting the foundation of securing endpoints and going to users. The next is cost. Cybersecurity can be expensive, and the problem is there's a lot of tools out there. So what do you use? And if you look at cybersecurity, it's kind of a bell curve. As you start buying solutions, your cybersecurity posture improves and kind of peaks a little bit. But if you get too many solutions, it starts to go down the other side. And the reason is you're not monitoring, you're not looking at the reports, you're not using the information that's being provided. So there is kind of a break-even point. So what we want to do, and with Lenovo, we can provide the best solutions with automation to do the things that we need to help reduce tools and cost. And then IT and security team workload. And again, this is about automation. Next slide, please. So this is my ThinkShield portfolio, and if you kind of click through this, please, as you go through it, there's 13 different solutions that I actively talk about. In all honesty, we have about 40 different solutions that are available to also as a partner, as a distributor. What I'm going to focus on is more on the right-hand side, the below the OS, and securing the devices, the users, the physical devices that we are using in our day-to-day work in this work from anywhere environment. And the reason is, from an also perspective, these are unique. I can guarantee you don't have these solutions, one, and two, they're not currently being sold in EMEA. So now we have this green space, this available solutions to be able to take to our customers and to our partners and say, look at what we can provide to help improve security, and nobody's doing it today. Next slide, please. So it starts with absolute. Next slide, please. The first question is, what is absolute? And again, I kind of prefaced into this, 70%, the right-hand statistic, 70% of cyber attacks are taking place on the endpoints. This is where they begin. And this is why I've focused on the endpoint. And this is why I said the number one security vulnerability in an enterprise is our endpoints. Next slide, please. If you also look at the applications, which I talked about, they degrade, they stop working, or as a user, I turn something off because my performance isn't what I want it to be. Or a bad actor, the first thing I'm going to do is turn off your antivirus or encryption. The problem that we have, and back to my original question, is how are you monitoring this, and how are you, one, mitigating it or stopping it, and two, if it does get turned off or degrade or uninstalled, how are you reinstalling it? And again, it's that manual process. Next slide. So what is absolute? Absolute is actually built into the firmware. And it's actually in 28 OEMs, but Lenovo was the first. And as you'll see as we start moving through this, there's a lot of integration that Lenovo has with Absolute that makes this different and unique. But we also understand that most customers are not just an Absolute customer. They have multiple vendors in their enterprise. And that's why Absolute is a good solution to be able to start with. And the reason is it's built into that firmware. So what does that mean? So it's built into the Intel and AMD chipsets, meaning there is no way once I turn it on and activate it that I can ever delete it. So it is undeletable. It's not an application. Yes, there's two components. There's an application that resides at the OS layer to wake up the firmware. But once that firmware is awake, if that application portion ever goes away, it's monitoring it from the firmware and it will reinstall it or turn it back on or whatever it needs to do. Next slide, please. So Absolute starts with visibility. First, we want to do is start tracking hardware. What's going on the device? What are my applications? I can see every single application that's installed on a device, and I can tell you who's using it and how often they're using it. So now I have empirical data that can tell me the value of an application that I have installed on my devices, and do I want to renew it, or do I want to simply get rid of it because it's not being used? But it also shows me what applications are there. I can also monitor critical applications, my security, my antivirus. It can tell me if they're on, if they're active, and I can also locate on a map anywhere in the world to within 1 to 20 meters. What this does is it triangulates off of your network connections. It's like a phone. When I connect on my phone, it pings off of multiple cell towers. Well, this is similar. It's going to ping off of multiple wireless routers, or even if I'm tethered to my phone, or however it's getting connectivity, and it will triangulate my position to within about 1 to 20 meters. So it's very accurate. So now we have visibility. What's going on my endpoints? How are they acting? What applications are going on? What's being used? Where is it? Next slide, please. This is where we really start seeing the evolution of security on endpoints with Absolute. And it's with this level called control. This is the mid-tier of Absolute. I can do remote file and data wipe off of a device. So if there's a file that's on a device and I decide it doesn't need to be there any longer, a person moves positions in the company, or the file shouldn't be on the endpoint, I can surgically go out and remove that. But what's more important is the entire device wipe. And it kind of gets into some of the other things when we start talking about lost and stolen devices or end of life. We don't want to ship a device with data on it before it's wiped. So with this solution, I now have the capability to remotely wipe data off of a device, but I also get a date timestamp message back. So if we think about compliance, we think about GDPR for the EU, or PCI DSS for credit cards, or healthcare, or the new NIS2 regulations that are going to be coming out. And there's a number of things that we can talk about of long regulations. But the idea is I now have an audit trail that my antivirus was always on because I've got visibility. My encryption was always on, but because I've got visibility. But when something happened to the device, I issued a remote data wipe and I get this date timestamp back saying it was done. The next thing I can do is lock a device on demand. This is anytime, anywhere. So if I issue a remote lock on a device, and I can customize it, it would, we can put a message on there. We can even put the user's logo in there. So this is completely customizable. And why would you want to do this? Maybe a device, you can't find it, or you can't track it, or something's going on with it. And there's a number of reasons to do this. But once we issue that remote lock, it's persistent. Even after reboot, as soon as the system reboots, the first thing that's going to happen is that remote lock's going to come up. They can't even log into the device until you remove that lock. And the next one is remote firmware protection. This is some of the integration that we have with Lenovo. So remote firmware protection is unique only to Lenovo, and this is an enterprise BIOS password management solution. Now, from an enterprise single location, you can set, manage, and change BIOS passwords on Lenovo commercial grade devices. So all the ThinkPads, ThinkStations, ThinkCenter, ThinkEdge devices, we now have a centrally managed way to set and change BIOS passwords across your enterprise. Finally, it's geofencing. This one is very interesting. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner, I've created a perimeter around London, and a geofence can be anything. It can be that you define. Is it a building? Is it an area? Is it a city? Is it a country? You define what that perimeter is. The next question is, what do you want to do? Do you want to control devices going out of that perimeter, or do you want to control devices going into that perimeter? Let me give you two examples, and I'm going to use Formula One as an example. So Formula One has 32 racing circuits, and they've created a perimeter around every one of them. When they go to a race, they stand up their equipment. All the devices are inside that perimeter, which means they are in the location we want them to be. The race happens, the finishes, they shut down the devices, they box them up, and they ship them. They get to the next location. All the devices are inside that perimeter, which is good. That's fine. They operate fine. But if any device pops up outside that perimeter, they immediately lock it, meaning it's unusable. And they can now track it and trace it. The second scenario, and I'm going to randomly pick two vendors, two companies, let's say McLaren and Red Bull, right? So Red Bull creates perimeters around their competitors' buildings because they don't want their proprietary information about their race car getting out, because it's on their devices. So now if one of their devices comes online, so if Red Bull device comes online inside McLaren building, again, it locks itself. So now you can see we're starting to get control. We can control where our devices are and where they're going. And it can be a simple message, hey, you need to call into IT to explain what this device is doing, but it gives us this security mechanism. And back to the built into the firmware. So even if a hard drive is reformatted or replaced, because that firmware is now awake, as soon as an operating system is put on that device, on that hard drive, the firmware is going to recognize that the absolute agent is not active, and it's going to reinstall itself. So as you can see now, I've got this undeletable tether on my devices from a security perspective that nobody can get around. Bad actors, the users accidentally on purpose, whatever it may be. Or if the application degrades, I can monitor that and see that it's not working correctly and reinstall it. Next slide, please. Which brings me to resilience, and this is the top tier of absolute. The first thing I can do is endpoint data discovery. You cannot physically read the data, but what this will do is it will go out to all of your devices and it will tell you what data is on it. So a perfect example, prior to Lenovo, I was a cybersecurity architect, and one of my jobs was to do two certifications. I live in the UK, and the first certification we needed to do was Security Essentials by the National Cybersecurity Center because we worked with governments programs and things like that. The second thing we needed to do was the credit card PCI DSS certification because we had some stores and some places where people purchased items, right? And so we had devices that had credit card information. It took me months to discover data on every device so that I could get certified. It took me months, and we had to bring in third-party contractors to help go through this process. It was time-consuming, it was costly. With absolute resilience, I could have done that in minutes across my entire enterprise. This is the level of availability and information that we can now start getting off of our devices. Not only can I tell you what data is on there and needs to be protected, but I can also identify the tools that you've identified or the customers identified that need to be installed on that device to protect that data and automatically install it. We're getting into that automation now, making the IT and security team's job easier. Which brings me to the next item, harden autonomously third-party applications. Not only can Absolute heal itself, but it can heal over 100 critical applications that we run on our endpoints, security applications, endpoint management solutions, MDMs, UEMs, EDR, XDRs, VPNs, and the list goes on. Big name solutions, and I'll show you here in just a minute. But now think about back to my original question. One, how do you know if your application starts working on the endpoint? And two, how do you fix it? That manual process of reinstalling it, re-pushing the image out through your Intune or whatever solution you're using. With this, I can now monitor my endpoint, every single one of them. And when something goes wrong with the application, I turn it back on, I reinstall it, I fix it. That work that now had to be done by IT is automated. And we can take remedial action. There's over 2,500 scripts and capabilities that have into here. So it goes back to my control. What do you want to do inside or outside of that perimeter? We now have a lot of capabilities that we can do with this. And the final one, which is really critical, we can investigate lost and stolen devices. So two scenarios here, really. We issue a laptop to a user. I'm an organization and I issue it to a user and they start using it, but then they put that laptop on the shelf and it becomes a dark endpoint. It's not being used. Well, with this, I can identify who logged on, when they logged in, where they logged in from, the location. I can show it on a map. I can help track and recover this endpoint. I can also issue a remote lock. So if the user turns it back on, they have to call into IT to justify why has it been sitting on that shelf for 2 months and not being used. If you're not going to use this device, let me bring it back into the corporation and issue it to somebody who can. The other scenario is obviously stolen devices. We can recover stolen devices anywhere in the world. There's one exception. We will not go into countries that are currently engaged in war. It's a security thing, right? We're not going to send our personnel into a country engaged in war to recover a device. Other than that, we recover devices anywhere in the world. We have an 85% success rate on recovering lost and stolen devices. Here's a real live example. In the United Kingdom, the National Healthcare Service, the NHS, they're a customer. To date, we have recovered 187 stolen laptops for the NHS in the UK. So now this is the level of what we can do with Absolute. It's undeletable. It's given me visibility into my endpoints that nobody else can with that undeletable tether. I'm getting control on my endpoint to control the security, control the access, control where the device is, control the use of it. And then I have resilience. I can report on information, I can report on data, I can do application self-heal, and I can recover lost and stolen devices. Next slide, please. So here's some use case examples, and I'm not going to spend much time on this, but really what I want to point out are the questions on the left-hand side, which I've covered. And now please click through this slide, and what you'll see as you go through this, it's an automatic process, no actions required. Next one, same thing again. Please scroll through this. So it's an automatic process, no actions are required. So I'm going to reinstall third-party software. And here's just a list of the third-party software that we have. Go ahead, next slide. And the next slide again. Here we are with logos. Next slide.
Yeah, sorry.
So you can see endpoint protection. We're talking about Microsoft Intune, SCCM, Defender, Citrix, endpoint management. Next slide, please. And just some more vendors. This is the level of application, automatic self-heal that we can do with Absolute. And if there's something not on here, we can add it in to include a customer's homegrown application. So now we have, to me, the most important, the most critical foundation for cybersecurity for our endpoints is we have a solution that can never be turned off or deleted because we have built into the firmware. Now we have control on our endpoint devices. Next slide, please. So now we've established this undeletable tether. We have control on the endpoints. We can do the application self-heal. We can track it anywhere in the world and recover lost and stolen devices. So now let's start protecting the endpoint where nobody else can. And now we're going to talk about a couple solutions that are unique to Lenovo. They go on any hardware, so it's not just Lenovo hardware. But these are the solutions that I was saying is not in Europe right now. These are solutions that are green space that our customers need. Excuse me. And the first one is called Firmware Defense by Eclipsium. Next slide, please. So just some statistics. If we look at cyber attacks, 33% of all routinely exploited vulnerabilities are in firmware. And ransomware and malware, once they get infected, the first thing they want to do is get into firmware. Next slide, please. Why? Because firmware is largely unprotected. So what we're seeing is that now in today's cybersecurity world, firmware is the preferred method to get in during a cyber attack. Next slide. And here's why. Let's focus on that bottom bit. Or look at the device you're sitting in front of right now. How many firmware components are inside that device? Yes, there's Intel or AMD chipsets, which Intel and AMD can detect and monitor, and Lenovo has internal chipsets as well. But what about, let's focus on a customer and their enterprise. How many different devices do they have in their enterprise? So how are they detecting the management consoles, the network ports, the Wi-Fi's, the USB bus, the general processing units, etc., etc.? How are they, one, detecting all of this firmware, and two, monitoring and protecting it? And the honest answer, there isn't. Click one time, please. So if we think of current cybersecurity solutions, it is focused on the OS and above. Our EDR XDRs, our antiviruses, our encryption and data arrest, and all this cybersecurity protection is focused at the OS and above. Some EDRs claim to do some of the firmware, but in reality, they're only touching 5, 10%, maybe a little bit more, but they're not detecting and protecting everything. And this is the problem. This is why firmware is the preferred attack vector for cybersecurity bad actors. click one more time, please. This is where Lenovo with Eclipsium is different. So now, this green space across Europe, this green space in the Nordics for also, nobody has this solution. We can now detect, monitor, and protect every x86 firmware and now most networking devices. The networking devices were released about a month ago. Next slide, please. So how does it work? There are two scenarios. There's a one-time supply chain check. So customer buys equipment, comes in, before they deploy it, we're going to do a one-time supply chain check to make sure the firmware of every component in the hardware that they've purchased have not been tampered with, that it matches the manufacturer. One-time supply chain check. Or we do continuous monitoring, and that's what I like to call EDR XDR for firmware. Next slide, please. And it looks something like this. On the left-hand side, you have the initial supply chain check. But in the middle, we have all of our devices across our enterprise. We have x86 hardware, whether it's endpoints, laptops, servers, whatever it may be, and now networking devices. And what we're going to do is that there's an agent that's going to detect every piece of firmware on that device, and it's going to send it to that Eclipsium analytics engine, a central device. And what that's going to do is download from the cloud all of the known good firmware configurations from every manufacturer. And then we're going to compare it. So if the firmware on my device matches the manufacturer, I have known good. If the firmware doesn't match the manufacturer, but I'm the one as the customer that made a configuration change to that firmware, I still know it's good. Or if the firmware doesn't match the manufacturer, then I've got a problem and I know somebody has maliciously tampered with my firmware and I need to fix it. Nobody in the world can do this. So the next question is, well, what's the workload on the endpoint device? Let's think about firmware. When does firmware update? Every time you implement firmware updates, it requires a reboot. So I do not need to monitor my firmware on my devices until a system is rebooted. So this tool is lightweight. It's not putting performance impact on the endpoint. It's not taking up network. And the only time it does this is during a reboot. Yes, we can change that if the customer wants to monitor more frequently, but in reality, firmware is not going to change until we reboot. So on a reboot, I'm going to take a picture of what's on my device, the firmware, and I'm going to send it to the central Eclipsium analytics engine, and we're going to compare it with the manufacturer. Now I have end-to-end enterprise firmware management across my enterprise. Next slide, please. And here it is. Like I mentioned, all x86 devices and networking, but it also ties into our SIMs, our SOARs. There's APIs to tie into security tools. So this is a true enterprise-grade firmware management solution. Next slide, please. And here are the benefits. There's 6 main benefits. I've talked about the security supply chain and ongoing monitoring. I've talked about the firmware inventory. We can inventory everything that's in there. We can give you a version history. Once you start using this, we can see what version you had and when you upgraded it and then when you upgraded again. So we have this version history capability. We can give you the integrity of your firmware, which I've explained. There's known good, there's unknown good, meaning I made the change, or there's known bad. There's a change on the firmware that I didn't make and it doesn't match the manufacturer. Another value is the security risk. I can tell you what vulnerabilities you have on your firmware versions. A big one recently was the UEFI firmware bug, and there was a CVE reported to this. Well, if you had Lenovo's ThinkShield firmware defense installed, this would have automatically notified you and given you the CVE number and the criticality, and you can do the whole research because we're monitoring your firmware for you. So this is, like I said, it is an enterprise tool and a capability. And then we can also help with firmware change and upgrades. Not only can we help you download, but we can also help you implement the firmware across your devices. So true solution end to end. Next slide, please. So that's the first unique solution. ThinkShield Firmware Defense powered by Eclipsium. We've talked about absolute. We're now undeletable on that endpoint. We're now auto self-healing. We're now geofencing and locking and doing all the things. The next thing we've done is we're now doing firmware defense across our enterprise, on our endpoints, on our servers, anything that's x86 hardware, and now networking devices. So let's talk about the next one. And again, look at the device you're sitting in front of right now. Look at all the peripherals that you have attached. I have a wireless mouse, I have a keyboard, I have a monitor, I'm connected into a number of different devices. But what if I pick my phone up and charge it via USB? Or what if I plug in a USB thumb drive? These are all devices that are being attached to our servers, to our network, to our endpoints. The problem is, how are we protecting these devices from doing something malicious? Next slide, please. So on the left-hand side, you can see the current security solutions. It's either trust the devices. Okay, a device is going to tell me it is, I didn't bring it into my office this morning, but it's a USB thumb drive, and it says it's a keyboard. And this is a problem because every cybersecurity solution trusts that it's a keyboard, and so it allows it access. The problem is it's a USB thumb drive with malware on it. It's called a rubber ducky. The next solution is, well, we're just going to turn off USB. We're not going to allow our users to use it. Well, now we're making work for the users difficult. Or what if we have executives? You're not going to turn off USB and everything for that. But what if I'm just charging my phone? I can still connect my device via USB and charge. And with that, I can inject malware in. The difference is what we're doing with our hardware defense powered by S.A.S. Next slide, please. On the right-hand side, this is what you're going to see from S.A.S. We are looking at over 10 physical attributes of every peripheral device that we're plugging in. We're looking at the clock speed. We're looking at the signal timing. We're looking at the physical impulses, the electricity, the protocol versions, all of these things, the power that's coming off of that device into our endpoints and servers. So now we have a DNA mapping of every physical device across our enterprise. Is it truly what it says it is? Back to that rubber ducky. It says it's a keyboard. I have plugged it in against Microsoft Defender, Symantec, Sentinel-1, CrowdStrike. Every one of these EDR, XDR security solutions trusts that it's a keyboard. And as soon as it's in, it infects the machine and runs malware. So that's a problem. With S.A.S, because I'm using those 10 solutions that you see on the right-hand side, the physical attributes of the device, I can tell you that it's not a keyboard because it's doing something different. It's clock speed, what it's trying to do. I can tell you that it's trying to insert something into your device, and I can stop it. So now I can prevent the peripherals that we're attaching from infecting my enterprise. The next thing is I can give you a bill of material of every peripheral device. For example, this wireless mouse I have. How many components are inside this? With S.A.S, with ThinkShield Hardware Defense by S.A.S, I will look at every component. Like firmware, I will look at every bit of component that is inside this device. But I can also identify if there's something in there that shouldn't be there. For example, this is a Lenovo mouse, wireless mouse, and I know from the manufacturer all the components that are supposed to be in this device. And if there's something inserted that shouldn't be there, I can identify it, and I can identify this device now as a threat. And it goes beyond that. So risk assessment and scoring. This is unique to every customer. Why? Because, like Lenovo, I have a standard set of peripherals that we buy for every employee. And if that peripheral is attached to my device, it's a lower risk score because I know it's my standard procurement. But if something that isn't part of my standard procurement cycle is inserted, it'll have a higher risk score. And if something is doing what it's not supposed to, like that rubber ducky, then that's going to be a critical score. So now I have this scoring from 1 to 9 that can show every device across my enterprise and how it's working, and every piece and component that's built into this device. No other solution in the world provides this level of identity and protection for peripheral devices. Next slide, please.
And Berg,
Yep,
the time is running. So
I'm about
could you
finished. This
speak?
is it.
Oh,
Yep.
great. Thank
This
you.
one's here, and to be honest, this is pretty much the last slide and we're done. So here it is. We have endpoints, and when we deploy hardware defense, we discover 7,000 endpoints. But what we really discover is the 77,000 peripheral devices across an enterprise. It's an order of magnitude increased from a cybersecurity perspective that we have to protect. So now with S.A.S, we have the ability to detect and protect all of those peripheral devices that we're connecting. Next slide, please. And I won't talk about SIGINT today because we want to move on. I appreciate that. But what this is it also gets into data defense. One scenario for you. This monitors your EDR XDR. If I'm a bad actor, I'm going to turn off your EDR XDR, and this monitors that. So as soon as that happens, I'm going to require multi-factor authentication to access data, any file. And this is what SIGINT can do. And you can just click through the next couple slides. So what I'll do is I'll wrap this up. Next slide. There it is, MFA. Next slide. And we're done. So what we have is security that's unique, security that also can bring to the Nordics that is not out there, right? Okay, Absolute is across 28 OEMs, and that's great, but nobody's positioning and providing Absolute. And through Lenovo, we can do this with also. But next, once we have that security, once we have that layer that's undeletable, next we start bringing in security that nobody else has. We bring in ThinkShield Firmware Defense by Eclipsium to do this firmware enterprise protection. We bring in ThinkShield Hardware Defense by S.A.S to protect the peripherals that are attaching to our devices. And then I'd love to have another discussion and get into more solutions, but we can do solutions like SIGINT and be able to protect the data and what's on our devices. So that is just an intro of the depth and the breadth of ThinkShield and the really great cybersecurity solutions that we have to start protecting users. Think back to my first slide. What's the critical aspect? It's a user, yes, but it's the endpoint. If we can make endpoints resilient, which you can with Lenovo, then we can start focusing on the other things like the users. So thank you for your time. By all means, if you have questions, please reach out. Happy to go through this again and talk through this or demos. But we're here as an extension of your sales team. I have a team able to get on customer calls with you, able to get on and do demos and proof of concepts. So all we need to do is just get engaged. I tell everybody in Lenovo this. I have yet to have one customer conversation where we don't identify a new opportunity with ThinkShield. So just get us engaged and we'll start driving those opportunities with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Berg. And then I will hand it over to you, Christian. The scene is yours.
Hello, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thank you. I'm Christian, just a little bit of an introduction. The channel SMB ISG SSG executive. And today I will cover my colleague team and I will talk to you about TrueScale, give you an update about TrueScale, and it will be more like an introduction of TrueScale. So if you can move to the next slide, please. So as you, I think you need to click again there because there is something coming up later. Yes, thank you. So as an introduction of TrueScale, what we can say is that the TrueScale is an umbrella for our everything as a service. Obviously includes infrastructure as a service and device as a service. And here you can see what we do provide from a channel perspective, from a channel point of view. So TrueScale is a product which will help our partners to maximize the opportunity. it will give the single source of expertise around the actual services that we provide with the incorporation of our managed services. If you look at the bottom of the slide there on the partner, which is what really is all about, is the benefits coming by using the sales resources, digital tools, solution provided by the global tech leader, which will facilitate it to grow. On the response with agility, on the infrastructure as a service, we have a subscription or a pay-as-you-go model, which is on high demand at the moment, as you all know from the IT industry point of view. And on the last part from this slide, which is basically the summarizing everything, what we can say is that in a nutshell, TrueScale is a combination of device, infrastructure, and services in a single solution in one single paid model. So we can move to the next slide, please. So this is the basically end-to-end of everything as a service, global channel framework. This includes everything from the capability assessment, which is required in order to establish what a partner is able to do in terms of the infrastructure as a service solution. And also we have different type of commercial models available. And then these commercial models are chosen by our partners depending on their capabilities and also from the requirement from an end user point of view. Also, we have the need to understand what the type of service the partner can deliver. So then we can decide what we can deliver and what the partner can deliver. There are some type of services that Lenovo has to deliver. This is mandatory. And there are the type of services that actually will let our partner to take the ownership of. Again, all depends on the capabilities of our partner. So if you click again there, it should get something else coming up. Thank you very much, which is the capability assessment. So basically, if you look at this table, it's a very simple questionnaire which will go from 1 to 5. And what it's all about is about deciding what is the actual profile of our partner. So if we go to number 1, basically the idea here is to understand if the partner is able to do the billing and collections. Then we can move over to number 2. However, if the partner is not able to do the billing and collections, that doesn't mean that they cannot be a TrueScale partner, but Lenovo we can still support by using a different models that I was referring before. So for example, the S.L.U or the referral model. I will talk about the models later on in the next slide anyway. So the number 2 is related to capabilities from the partner's point of view in terms of professional services. So here is more about understanding if the partner have the capability of delivering deployment, installation, migration, and so on. Then we have the number 3, which is more like to check, is more kind of a checkpoint of the first 2 points, really. So if the partner have the capabilities on the first 2 points, we can continue the discussion here by considering what is the best commercial model available that we have for them. On the other hand, if some of the capabilities are not there, and the partner, for example, is not able to do the billing and collections, as I mentioned before to you, then Lenovo can step in and we can choose the correct sales motion, and then we can choose the appropriate model as well. So, for example, if this is the billing and collection is not something that the partner is able to do, then we can have a direct contract with the end user, and the partner will be rewarded via our model, which is the referral model. Then we have number 4. Here is more about understanding if the partner have the experience and the subscription on everything as a service. They can do today. Probably they can, because they're using the same model, the same type of product with other vendor. So that will be a really good news for Lenovo, because the partner already understands what it is and what are the processes involved. So here again is about to understand the experience of the customer in the field of services as everything. Number 5 is the final kind of checkpoint that we go through with our partner when we are kind of onboarding them as a TrueScale, and it is more about the technical credentials that the partner already have. So if they lack of any specific credentials, then again, we need to look at a different kind of model there to assist and support the partner who still wants to sell TrueScale. And at the same time, what we need to do is an exercise of getting them accredited so they can fulfill the requirements in order to become the ideal TrueScale part number. And this is number 6. So if all the way to from 1 to 5, the partner have the right capabilities and the right experience and the right knowledge, then what we have is the ideal partner for TrueScale. And by having the ideal partner of TrueScale in this situation, in this case, the partner can choose what commercial model they want to use. So if you can click again, please, for me. And again. Okay, so this is the commercial models. So I was mentioning some of them before. So overall, there are 4 options available for now. And so the model that everyone is aware is the referral model. This one, basically what will happen here is we pay the partner or the distributor one-time funding fees, and the Lenovo will have the direct contract with the end user, will take the full responsibility about the solutions, and it will liaise with the end user from end to end. Then we have the sale. And one thing I would like to mention here is more capabilities the partner have, more likely is that the partner will choose the sell-through model. Okay, so in fact, if you see there from the triangle there is an arrow of the capabilities. So more capable a partner is, the more likely is that they will choose the sell-through commercial model. So let's talk about the sell with. Is a similar CapEx model we have today. Here, the partner will buy the hardware and then they will wrap the service around it. On this one, Lenovo would be the contracting party with the customer, and Lenovo will also be the financial services entity. So here, the partner will completely be out of the risk. Lenovo will use this model if we do not see that the partner have the right capabilities in terms of, I was mentioning before, billing and collections. The sell-to is a model to use if the partner is kind of bundling the solution with other services that they are already selling to the customer. So the sell-to model, if you think about it, is more about the model that should be used by an MSP. So they can get our TrueScale solution within their own data center. They can wrap the services around the solution, and they can offer the full solution to the customer. Then we have the sell-through, which is the last one. This is a traditional model that Lenovo used with anything in terms of hardware and services right now, within the channel, of course. And this is basically the transaction that goes via distributor to partner to end user. In more cases, we look to use this kind of motion if, again, the partner have the right capabilities. This is our preferable model from a Lenovo perspective. If you can click again for me, please. And again.
And the time is running also for you, Christian.
I'm gonna try to go really fast, just to go through the service split.
Thank you.
And that's it. Yeah. So the service split here is basically what's happening at Lenovo is trying to align with the partner of what the Lenovo can deliver and what the partner can deliver, or better, what the partner is capable of delivering. This is a service split matrix that needs to be completed in order to agree on who is delivering what before the solution is implemented. So, for example, in all cases, Lenovo will do the financing services. In most of cases, Lenovo will do the implementation. Lenovo will support to the customer with the customer success manager, and also with the managed services piece into the solution. But then, obviously, the partner can do all the other kind of services, like we said before: migration, installation, and deployment, and so on. Disaster recovery, for example, and things like that.
1 minute left.
Okay, one more minute. If you click again, please. And again. Okay, so this is the go-to-market strategy. At the end, what will happen is, after the discussion with the business partner, we will create a joint business plan, and here we look at the investment that is needed within the plan, whatever is around marketing. Some cases, some large partners, we can even look of providing a funding head. Obviously, this needs to be agreed with the senior management within Lenovo and within the partner as well. And then we have the enablement platform available. At the moment, this is not available for DaaS, but we are building the same kind of platform for IaaS. And we have the learning path in place, which is called Action to Complete, the necessary learning path model. Anything that's go from training to exams of tests, anything that will give the partner the knowledge and experience and the capabilities to choose what model they want. And finally, we have also an incentive through our partner and distribution incentive program. So this is a very high level of intro of TrueScale. There's much more to say, but again, time is running. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And then we have Joanne. You could take it from here, and then Mess. So we have to speed it a little bit up. Thank you.
Can you move on to my slides, please? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
Looks like there's some really good information there. So
Yeah.
but the slides will be shared after the presentation, won't they? So
Yeah. Yo.
okay.
Yes, it will.
Perfect. So thank you for making time with me to learn about Lenovo's APOS opportunity powered by RenewTrack. My name's Joanne Thomas, and I'm the EMEA Program Manager. Today I'll cover how RenewTrack works and how it benefits you, a brief demonstration, and next steps to get onboarded. The term APOS stands for After Point of Sale. During the APOS phase, warranties can expire, the customer's needs may change, requiring upgrades or add-on services. The opportunity is significant right now. There are approximately 56 million serial numbers eligible for APOS services, and if just 5% are upgraded, this equates to £163 million worth of opportunity just waiting to be captured. So how are you currently handling your APOS business, and can RenewTrack help you? So Lenovo's made a significant investment to provide the RenewTrack platform and support staff to help you take full advantage of this reoccurring revenue. If you go to the next slide, please. So what is RenewTrack? RenewTrack is a third-party platform that Lenovo has partnered with to help our channel community take advantage of their APOS opportunity in a more efficient way. When a warranty expires, your customers have three choices. They can renew, refresh, or as Henrik mentioned, go for asset recovery services. Or they can actually do a fourth, which is nothing at all. So RenewTrack simplifies the process so it's easy for your customers to choose the renew or refresh paths. RenewTrack consolidates all the data you need, such as warranty expiry, serial number, pricing, qualifying upgrades, and channel contacts, all in one convenient location. It allows you to automate notifications through to the end customer. RenewTrack makes pricing simple. You can automate margin per account, while role-based access and information protects your privacy. It also facilitates a faster quoting process, allowing you to access the self-configuration and available options without the back and forth. Next slide, please. So how does it work? Lenovo supplies the end warranty data that follows the incumbency path from the original point of sale. Then RenewTrack sends a monthly notification to the distributors about all their current opportunity in the portal. That triggers the distributors to go into their portal, enter their partner emails, and add their margin and issue the opportunity to you. You will receive a notification. And if it's your first time, you'll click on to the first time logo, and it will ask you to upgrade, to enter your username, which will be your email address, and enter your password. Once you've done this, save it to your browser, and then you'll be able to take it from there. When a customer receives a notification, they click on their opportunity in their portal, and they can configure their warranty extensions, upgrade, or ask for a hardware refresh quote. If you go to the next slide, please. This is a sample of the notification you receive from a disti. It has a summary of the value and the volume of opportunity. Simply click on Manage Renewals, and this will take you into your platform. If you click onto the next thing. The three big steps that you need to do is enter in your customer email address, add your margins, and issue the notifications. What you're seeing on the screen is the notifications that when you issue them that trigger to the end user. It triggers a series of 90-day, 60 and 30, 15 and plus 1 day notifications. You'll notice in the top left-hand corner, there's the partner logo. Partners can brand this with their own logo, so when they receive it into the end user, it looks fully branded by them. If it's not branded, it does simply display the Lenovo logo. So we encourage you to add the logo. If you go on to the next screen, please. So as I just mentioned, what do I need to do? You need to enter your customer email, add your margin, and issue notifications to the end user. Let's get started. So if I just share for one moment, and I'll take you, conscious of time, into the portal. Can you see my screen?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, let me try again.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we can see it now.
Perfect. So once you've got access to the portal, as I mentioned, this is the screen you'll come to. You'll add in your email, and it will ask you in your first instance to select forgot password. Once you've clicked forgotten password, you can set your password and you'll be good to go from there. I'll just take you into the portal. Sorry, it's just a bit slow. So this is just to let you know it is our training environment. So all once you get your access, it will be stayed in your local currency. This is just for training purposes only. So what you will see here on the dashboard is a snapshot of your current quarter's opportunity. And as you can see, you can adjust your date range here and here. You can also click on the opportunities button here that will take you through to all the opportunities. Here you will see what's sitting with your distributor for them to still take action. You can see what's sitting with you, and once you've issued to the end users, what's sitting with your end user. And here you can see what's renewed. If I scroll down here, you'll see your performance, and you'll see what's pending to take next action. And as I mentioned, the three things that are needed are margin, for you to add your margin, an email, and issue to your end users. So in the essence of time, let me just click through into the manage opportunities. So here you can see all the opportunities at line level, and each opportunity could have multiple serial numbers within that opportunity. To make it easier, we've added a new automation rule in where you can add bulk contacts and add bulk margin, or you can do single line, add margin, or update opportunity with contacts or issue to end user. So all of these opportunities are here. You can also, as I mentioned, upload your logo. So you would just drop your logo here and that would appear then on your notifications. And we would basically say to do that as soon as you get access. You can also update my details, which enables the partner, the end user, to see the contact details. So it could be a pot here if you wanted to, or a person that you want them to come back to if they want further details. I won't go through all the settings. As I mentioned, we have a team to support you. So once you get access, they will reach out. Lilia will reach out to you and she will be able to go through all the actions with you. So let me go through to the filters. So you can add filters. So it could be as you wanted to see what's expiring just this month, or you want to look at opportunities by a certain value, or you want to search by a specific account. You can also click here to give you a quick view of missing partner, email and margin and accounts. The thing I like and I think is really useful, if you wanted to say focus your salespeople on driving what's expiring in the next 30 days, you can click here and that will enable you to do pull a report that will show you what is due in the next 30 days. How do you do that? You would just come here and you've clicked the filter here and it says, as you can see, it's added in already here. And up here, you have the ability to download a CSV file. You can download a CSV file of all your opportunities, or you can just download it using the filters that you've done. In the essence of time, I won't click through on that, but effectively that will give you two options. One, that you can do it at line level, which will give you the serial number and the recommended upgrade. To let you know, we upgrade the current level of service by 1 year. So if you clicked here, that would take you through to there. So I'll just come across here. Here you can see the status that the renew's due. You can see where it's sitting with partner. And as I mentioned across here, if you clicked on the line level, here is where you would update the missing end user and update the margin. But what we recommend is you use the automation rules here to do that. So the other new piece that we've added is our new resource center. This will enable you to come through. It has lots of great information, an A.P.O.S overview, the Renew Track overview, and some great training videos for you to look at. So I definitely recommend you take a look there. Can I just check I'm still staring my screen?
Yeah, and
Yep.
Jen, we are
I know you're going to tell me at times, so I'm just going to quickly show you what the customer sees when they go into, as if they were going to configure an opportunity, just to give you a quick view, and then I'll hand back. But as I mentioned, once we give you access, our A.P.O.S reps will contact you to go through in more detail of the portal. So if you bear with me one moment.
or
Oh, that's not good, is it? Sorry.
no.
Ah, here we go. So here we go. As I mentioned, this is the screen. So you've issued those notifications. Remember the 60, 90, 30 days. This would be the logo appearing here and the contact details. It will give your partner information here, and it tells you the total opportunity that you of the current quote value. It will give them the quote number. They can decline the quote, download the quote, or forward. As I mentioned, we have the renew now, or they can request a hardware refresh here. And apologies, I didn't get to show you that, but if you clicked on this button, a pop-up would come and that would enable your end user to drop you a message, and it will send an email back to you to let you know with the serial numbers that they wanted to have a hardware refresh conversation. So I'll just quickly do the configuration just to show you how it works. So actually I want to have a look at my config options. So I've clicked my opportunity. As you can see, it says that I can carry on the 12 months on site, or I can upgrade to 24 months. And actually, I'm going to take my Premier support as well. As you can see, this is live dynamic pricing. So this everything you do in the tool is live and at that point. So as you can see, it's taken the new value and actually I'm going to buy. So I'll quickly go through in the essence of time here. We have the ability to do credit card payments, totally up to you if you set it up, and we can provide more details for our risk team on how this works. Or alternatively, you can just drop and drag a purchase order here. The end user would pop the purchase order number here. They would submit that back to you by saying, I am authorized and pay now. And what that would do was generate an email back to you. And all of these settings can be set up in your configuration when you start. And our APOS risk person will go through that when you get access in more detail. So just to pause there, I will just say that everybody wants who wants access, if you just pop your information into the chat, then what we will do is we'll follow up with you after this call. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
Thank you.
That was a
Joanne.
speedy way through,
Yeah.
but I hope it gave you
Yeah.
a taste of what we can offer. And I'll
Yeah.
hand over to Mads.
Yeah. And then we have Mads. Could you do it in a short time?
Yes, hopefully. So let's get into it. What I will share my screen about is so you can see how it all works in practice and how you can get some good pricing on all the services we have went through today. The same goes by with the thing Shield, all the security software. It's the same process. Right now we are logged into Lenovo Partner Hub. We have the sales function up here where you can create bids. Before we get into this one, I would like to show you a great solution on how to create a lot of bids, get a lot of quotes and offers out to your customers, nice and easy. Under here, you have all our categories, and right here you find the PC services. So let's say you're a company, you sell a lot of a specific part number or a specific computer. In this case, we will take a classicer, the T14. We all know this wonderful product. Insert it here. And then you can see all the upgrades, what is possible to upgrade from. You can see from standard, it's 3 years of Premier support. You can see some great recommendations. And further down, you can see build your own service. So you can build 4 or 5 years, 3, 4, 5 years of Premier Support Plus. But you also have all the add-ons in the bottom here. So let's say you have an agreement with all the salespeople in your organization, or you as a salesperson just would like to sell a lot of sealed battery, for example. You can select it here, add to your list, and then add to your list over here. So right now I have a list filled with services for this model. So every time I have to create a bid, I just go to my list. You can also find it down here, solution list. You can create tons of different lists, just how you like it. And then you can, from there, create a bid in no time and get a quote on all the different services you would like to focus on and send it out to all your customers. It's a great, great solution. So let's press add to bid request. Insert customer. So in this case, we just take Lenovo here and press save. As you can see now, it will show the services. There is some battery, 5, 4, 3 years of Premier Support Plus. You can type in the amount you need, and then in a very short time, you have created a bid on all the computers you would like to sell and all the extra services you would like to add to it. A great way to always remember how to get service quoted, and so you can offer them to your customers. So that's pretty much it. I know we're over time, so I will not take more of your time. This is a great way to do it. And yeah, if you've got any questions, please come back to us or some at S.A.S. They also know this website very well. So just ask all the questions. Yes.
Thank you, Mads. Okay, Lenovo, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you. And thanks to all our great partners for your time. And if you have any, could be happy to help you. That was all for now. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Bye.
Bye.